man's opinion. Today I am reviewing Yale Repertory Theater's production of Nikolai Gogol's The Inspector with a new adaptation by Yura Kordonsky, directed by Kordonsky, running through March 29th at the Yale Repertory Theater at 1120 Chapel Street in New Haven, Connecticut. Come and inspect my Patreon page where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support my work here as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee, where patrons get early access to the latest episode. The latest episode is the 1941 Howard Hawks slapstick comedy Ball of Fire, starring Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. Links to my Patreon page and my Spotify page are in the description. So hey, 2 shows in a row that are new adaptations of 19th century European plays. The last one was Henrik Ibsen's drama Ghosts, currently off Broadway, and this time it's Nikolai Gogol's political satire The Inspector, or as it has been known in previous iterations, the Government Inspector or the Inspector General. As long as the adaptations stay smart and relevant, like the new adaptation of Ghosts and this adaptation of The Inspector, I'm all for these new versions. Originally set in the mid-1830s, The Inspector is set in a small Russian town where the mayor, here played by Brandon E. Burton, is corrupt and the general public abhors him. Word comes around that an inspector from St. Petersburg has arrived to investigate the town and how it is holding up under the mayor's supervision. The mayor, along with the other corrupt officials, immediately make it their objective to impress the inspector and, if necessary, bribe him to keep their town off the radar of the Tsar. Then there is his wife Anna, played by Elizabeth Stahlmann, and daughter Marya, played by Chinna Palmer, who are immediately infatuated with the inspector, each attempting to woo him for their own purposes. The joke, though, is that the person they think is the inspector isn't the inspector. Instead, it is Ivan Klestikov, played by Samuel Douglas, a civil servant from St. Petersburg who has been stranded in the town with his valet Osip, played by Nomme Sidon, after losing all his money gambling in another town. Instead of correcting the mistake in identity, he uses it to con everyone to his own purposes. Kordonsky amplifies the humor of the play, staging the performances with broad humor that mostly works. There is a bit of a catch with the humor being as broad as it is, which is that the audience, the night I was in attendance, missed a bit of the final message of the play, which is a famous fourth wall break in theater. It's a massive turn in the show, and maybe everything before was a bit too broad, and the audience just wasn't in a place to receive the ending. Personally, it wasn't too broad. I thought the turn at the end was, to my theatrical palate anyway, a nice sucker punch. But when observing the rest of the audience, it is apparent that it doesn't work for everyone, as the audience didn't take the message of the play seriously, which is a shame because everything leading up to the end was working. And I'm not saying the entire audience was like this, but there was enough that it was noticeable. So though I liked the play and found it devilishly and poignantly funny, there are obviously some audience members who aren't ready for what Kordonsky and an extension Gogol is doing, which is a shame because with the theme of political corruption, the abuse of said corruption, and recognition of that corruption in our own present world, The Inspector is still as important now as it was nearly 200 years ago. I love that the cast are all in on the absurdist satirical comedy of the play. No one feels uncomfortable in the slapstick nature of it. Samuel Douglas in particular, as Klestikov, amplified everyone and everything around him, and Nomme Sidon plays the perfect foil to that extreme performance by Douglas by being the cool and always prepared valet Osip to the zanier Klestikov. Brandon E. Burton's mayor is appropriately pompous, tempered with a touch of dread of what the inspector may find out about his dealings. Eduardo Benzoni and Malik James are 2 peas in a pod as the clownish civilian duo Pyotr Babchinsky and Pyotr Dobchinsky. The rest of the cast is great as well, but I do want to spotlight the hidden gem of a performance that is Grayson Richmond as the German-only speaking doctor who doesn't have much to say throughout the play, but when he does speak, the audience needs to pay close attention, even if you don't speak German. Also, just watch his subtle acting in the background throughout most of the play. It's the salient bits of honesty in an otherwise ostentatious orgy of obfuscation. The design is a bit enigmatic. The dialogue maintains its 1830s setting, but the design has it a bit more ambiguous. Between a mix of time periods and costuming and set design, it feels a bit all over the place. I get the sense it was intended to make the setting feel timeless in a kind of Samuel Beckett kind of way, but I don't think it exactly works here. I think a modern setting could work like any number of adaptations of Shakespeare has successfully accomplished, but here it feels a bit muddled and needs more definition. I really enjoyed this production of The Inspector. The cast is excellent and committed to the hijinks within, but I think the design could have used a bit more definition. I think the adaptation is exactly what it should be, satirically funny, edging on the point of absurdism, with a poignant, biting conclusion. I don't think everyone's going to pick up on it, though, which is one of the pitfalls of satire. I hope that those who watch this review will be more prepared than those who may be coming into the show blind to appreciate the layers that Kordonsky is going for with this new adaptation, and will get more out of it, because it is a great production and should be seen with as much clarity as possible. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see The Inspector, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon and Spotify pages, as well as my social media handles, so visit all of that if you'd like to support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the new off-Broadway play Last Call. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.